Perfect. All right, great. Thanks. We're going to go ahead and get started. So this is pretty much the third session that we've done on Google Classroom. And I wanted to do this because I'm receiving questions from different people about how things are going, not the way they thought it would in Google Classroom, and troubleshooting this, that, and the other. So I really like the thought of just using a hamburger to represent all this, because you have all these different ingredients and you want them to work right, but sometimes they don't. So I want to take you through this. And if you want, go ahead and make a copy of this. The presentation is at bit.ly/classroomburger with a capital C and capital B. And that will take you to this presentation right here, and you can make a copy of it. I'm hopefully going to cover this in 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less to save us some time so we can ask questions if you have any and follow up and so forth. So here we go. So first, there are these two videos that we have right here. And these are two that we created. We did the teacher view, this one right here, and that got us to creating assignments. And then the second one was how we can grade and so forth. And there's people coming in and around, so we're going to get them in here as well as we go. So I'm omitting a few more people as we go here. Okay. But I will try to stay on topic the best I can. So here we go. All right. So if you haven't seen these videos, please watch them. Those will hopefully get you up to speed to what we're talking about here in this video. And we're going to go into some questions right now that I've gotten from different people, and some that I've thrown in there myself, just because I know that people will have questions about those. So here's the feedback that I'm getting. I'm going to give you just a minute to read some of those, and I'm going to clean up a few things around my desktop and let some more people in. So go ahead and read through those if you would, and then we'll get started. Okay, so let's start with this first one. It says, what happens to my original file when I add it to Classroom? So my slide deck kind of follows in order what these questions are. So here's my first one. And I just want to kind of read this through you, and we'll talk about it together. I hate to read things to you, but I know that it's kind of a weird situation. I just want you to kind of familiarize with what I'm saying and so forth. So when you create a file, if you're choosing to make a copy for each student, it creates a copy of that original file for each student, and it names it student name dash and then the name of the file. So right here we have our original best burger, and when I run that through the make a copy for each student machine, which is the assignments, then I get all these different burgers with the names of the students as part of the name of the file. Now, it's pretty cool how this works, but when we do that, then the students have editing rights for it, and we as teachers have ownership rights. And I'll show you that in our next slide here. So when you go to that file as a student, then you'll see that the student name, this is a demo account that we have, is the owner, and that the teacher, that is me, I have editing rights to that file. Okay. Now, when the student has that turned in, then it becomes flip-flopped a little bit. I am the owner, and then the student is not able to have access to that file anymore until I've returned it to them. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And if it's not, if you have a follow-up question or something, we can unmute at the end and you can ask some questions and so forth. All right, so I'll go back over here a little bit to my next question. The next question was, where is all of my classroom material stored? Okay, so it's actually stored in a folder called Classroom inside your Google Drive. And we're just going to pop out of that, out of this session in just a second. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, there's two ways that the students can get there. Number one, you can go to Google Drive. Number two, inside their Google Classroom, there is a folder called Class Drive folder. So if I open up a new tab here and go to drive.google.com, And then I can just scroll down in my drive. And right there, as soon as you create a folder, as soon as you create a classroom, whether as a student or as a teacher, you will get this folder created for you. So when I pop in here, it's a little overwhelming. But what it is all of your classes, and you know that I do training, so I have lots of classes, but that's okay. You're probably going to see maybe 3 or 4, maybe 10 classes if you've been doing it for a while. And these are your classes. Now, if I want to go inside my classes, I'm going to go to the test classes that I've been using here. Sorry for all this. It's a little bit overwhelming. And if I pop inside there, you can actually see the assignments that I've made as a student. And I'm going to go to another class that I have. That's how the student looks. They're not going to have a whole bunch of folders. I'm going to look at another class here. And this one is test class for Mr. Broyles. And so these are all the assignments that I've created. And if I go into a particular assignment, let's say I want to go, let's see, maybe inside this one right here. Then I can see the responses and the files that my students have created. So this is the assignment that I gave. It creates its own folder. And these are my students' assignments that are sitting inside there. They're the same ones that you would see inside Google Classroom. Okay. So that's where the folders reside. Okay. Now, let's talk about what happens when a student or a faculty member leaves. Okay. Now, when that happens, as if you know that a student is going to be leaving your Google Classroom, then you need to make sure that you have gone ahead and graded those assignments and entered them into Infinite Campus. Because once they're gone from here, I'm not sure if they're recoverable. I bet Dave could probably do some magic here, but I bet it's a lot of work. So what you want to do is make sure that you have gone ahead and you've graded those assignments, you've transferred those to Infinite Campus. And then it's as easy as this. You just go to the People tab and you select the student that you want to remove from your classroom. You know, maybe they've moved out of the district. Maybe they're moving to another state. Maybe they're moving just across town to a different school. Okay, you still want to go and click and remove them. Okay, now what happens to their assignments? Well, they still have that Google Drive. Okay, so if they're just moving inside the district, not a whole lot is going to change for them because inside their classroom folder, they still have all of those assignments. That's great. Now, if they're moving to another district, what they're going to want to do is go to Google Takeout. And it sounds like a fantastic burger that you can have. It really isn't. But what it does do is this. There are directions for using Google Takeout, and I have those listed right here in my notes. It talks about Dave Carty's Google Takeout, and it gives you the directions for actually just moving those files to a different folder or to like a Gmail account or to moving them to an external drive. Okay, so it's all good things, easy to do. Just follow those directions, and he has that set right there on his blog. Okay. Now, if the staff is leaving, that's something they also want to do just to make sure that they have a copy of all their files that they have inside Google Drive. All right, so let's go to the next question. My parents have heard they can get into Classroom. What am I missing? All right, well, here's the thing. There's two parts of this question. I'm not sure exactly what they heard, okay? Because we usually hear the bits and pieces and we try to match them together as a puzzle and we're not really sure what it is. But there's two things happening here. Number one, parents cannot get inside Google Classroom as a student. They can't join a classroom as a student could. They have to have a student's email address to do that, an address inside Fayette County, okay? That's not gonna work. Now, what teachers can do is invite them to have a guardian summary email. And what that looks like is this. I'm going to pop out of here real quick, and I'm going to go to my Google Classroom. And I'm going to go right here, and I go to People, go over here to People. And so right here is where you can invite guardians. So these are my students. You know that we have demo accounts that we use, and our buddy Josh Rayburn is there because he let me use him as a student as well earlier. But if I want to invite the guardians of the student right here, I can go right here and I can type in that person's email address. So let's say that person is actually Kelly Fisher. That's the parent. I just click on there and I click to invite. And then what has happened now is she is invited. She has received an email from Google Classroom. And let's talk about what that email looks like. It looks like this. It's going to come across. This is one that I did earlier this week. And that right there in the blue, there's a little accept button. And they're going to click on the accept button. Now, when they do that, it will take them to a website. And that website will give them a little choice of what they want to do. It'll say, how often would you like to receive an email summary for your student's activity? And here it is. That's the name of the student. And it has a choice of a drop down for weekly, daily, or no summaries. So they can choose any of those. And you all know what happens if they choose no summaries. They're not going to get any emails. Okay. Now, if they choose weekly or daily, they will get emails for not just your classroom, but every classroom that that student is in that's a Google Classroom. So if they're in Google Classroom for 4 hours of the day or 4 times a day, then they will get email summaries for all those classes, not just yours. Now, if you don't want students to have that option in your classroom, which I'm not sure why you would, but maybe there's an idea behind that, you can go back to Classroom and you can click on the cogwheel here, the little gear. Yep. And you can turn on and off Google or Guardian summaries right here. Turn it off or on. Right now mine is on and I want to leave it on, but that's how you would turn that off. Okay. All right, let's go back. Now the third part, and we just entered, I just found this out, just earlier today, I think, and I added the slide. Some parents are getting a reply that says they are not able to accept the invitation. And I found out by Googling that some addresses, some email addresses are not connected to Google accounts. So what they have to do is actually, there's some directions right here you can click on and you can look through that. It will take you step by step to see what you have to do to connect your email to a Google account. Now, I will say this, some of those accounts seem to be older services such as yahoo.com, Rocket Mail, Hotmail, those kinds of accounts. I haven't had to do this personally for my kids, but I could see where, you know, older email accounts, there may be a problem like that with it not being linked. Okay, so I'm waiting to hear back from a teacher who's going to try this out for me today, and see if this really works. So we'll keep you up to date, see what happens. All right, so the next question I had, I'm trying to explain, no wait, it says how do I delete assignments? All right, I already covered that one, it looks like. So deleting assignments, it's easier than it looks, and it's a little scary too, because I don't think you can recover them. So if you go to where your classwork is, the classwork tab, there are 3 dots next to each assignment, and you can click on delete. I've done this with a couple of my assignments just to see how it works, and they are gone. I have no idea where they went, but I don't think I'll be able to see them again. So there's no recovery on that, but that is how you delete an assignment that you have already assigned to students. Okay. All right, so let's look at the next question. So it says, I don't see my assignments on stream anymore. I'm panicking. Where did I go? Where did they go? Well, this is what happened. If you go back to your classroom, and I'm going to get out of here. Oh, actually, I'm going to stay in here. This is exactly where I want to be. Remember, I clicked on the cogwheel to get here. So right here where it says classwork on the stream, what that should say is, will my classwork assignments show on the stream? And right here, you can change that. You can hide those notifications. And when you do that, there's no more classwork assignments going to be showing there. And I'll show you what that looks like. Let me show you before and after. That'll make a little bit more sense here. So when I go to the stream, I see all of these assignments that I have posted. There's a lot of them, okay? And just keeps going on and on and on. Don't be fooled by this little bar right here. There's a lot of assignments. Now, when I go back to classwork, actually I can go to the gear here, that's fine. I can change that and I can go to hide notifications. Okay, and I hit save up here. You gotta hit save. And now you see a more limited number of assignments here. And actually, I think these are just announcements. Okay, these are my announcements showing, and my assignments are no longer showing here. Okay, so assignments are not showing, just my announcements. Now, I like my announcements to show on the front page. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to turn that back on. And show attachments and details. I like that. Okay, so I hit save. And so that is what is happening. If your teacher's saying, I don't see my assignments anymore on the stream page, that means that they're being hidden by that function there that's in the gear. Now, they can also see their assignments here. That's just another check for them. This is where you can organize them. But if they're saying they can't see them on the stream, that's probably what is happening. Okay. All right, the next question, and we'll kind of get into the student end here a little bit too, which is a little bit hard. I wish we had accounts for you guys, just so you could have access to see what it looks like on the student side, but we just don't have that. We have some for our demos, but again, I don't know. We're not sharing those for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't think we can. So here we go. You can always ask us what it looks like though. And we have a video. If you go back to our NTI site, there is a video on the student side that shows you what they're seeing. Okay. But here's the question. It says a student accidentally turned in the assignment without completing it. What do we do now? Okay. So here we go. This is a little complicated, but it's okay. You can hang in there. You'll get it. So students, once they have an assignment that you have created for them and assigned to them, they can work on that assignment at any time. They can also not work on it. Okay, they can not work on it and click the turn in button. Okay, that's totally possible. Maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's an accident, but all they have to do, this is what it looks like on their end when you have created an assignment for them. It will tell you what the assignment is. This is a Google Doc because it says Google Doc, and it has their name, so it should say something like, Jerry Broyles dash whatever the assignment name. But the name of our demo account is Google Classroom 1. So they can click turn in here, and what that means on your end, you're going to see where they have turned it in. Your numbers are going to change for that assignment. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that they've done any of the work. Okay. Now, what you have to do is, if you get a message from them or you see that they haven't completed the assignment, you can go back and you can return that assignment. Okay, so let's look at that. So let's go back to our classroom, and I'm gonna go over here to grades. And my grades aren't that pretty because I've been doing a lot of different things in troubleshooting. But let's say that I get into, let's look at this one right here, this assignment. So in this case right here, I can see for my turned in, I have Google Classroom 1 has turned something in. The rest of these students have it assigned, but they haven't done any work or they haven't turned it in yet. Now, what I can do, if I know that that's a mistake, they didn't do any work by accident, I can click on them and then I can click return. Okay. Now what happens is now they have access to that document as the owner again. Okay. So they can go back and they'll see, if they go to that assignment again, they'll see where there's now a new turn in button. Okay. Now, let's say that they caught it before you did as a teacher. If they accidentally clicked on the turn in button and did not mean to turn it in, they can click unsubmit. Okay. Now that's only if you haven't returned it back to them yet. So there's that lag time. They turn it in, they're like, oh, I forgot. They go back here, they click on unsubmit, and now they can do the work, and now they can click on the turn in button again. Okay, so just kind of think that through. They accidentally turned it in, didn't mean to. There's some steps that can be taken to get them to have that assignment back so they can redo the assignment. All right, let's look at part 2 here. Now, After an assignment has been graded and returned, the student can, this is what it will look like. So this was an assignment I made, assignment 007, Ronald Reagan's quote. They're going to see this on their end. They'll see the score. If I had any comments for them, they would see that. They can see what their work is. If I made any comments or suggestions inside their Google Doc, they can open that up and see that. They can also resubmit this assignment if they don't like their score, okay? They can do better. That gives them a chance to do mastery learning if you want them to do that. Then you have the choice. They can resubmit the assignment, but you have the choice whether to regrade it or not. That is up to you as the teacher, okay? But they can always go back and resubmit it. All right, that's because they have ownership of the document at that time once you have graded it and returned it. All right, so let's look over here. The next question we had, my Google Form assignment is not showing me the import grading feature. Okay, so let's look to see what that looks like. So a couple things here, and we just kind of figured this out as we were working on some of our classroom and so forth. If you go and make an assignment, and this one right here, hopefully you can see that pretty well. I have put a quiz right here, okay? And I also added a YouTube video. So I wanted them to watch the YouTube video before they took the quiz. When you do that, you do not have the grade importing function as you would like to have it. You can't turn it on. And right here where there's this little gray box, I enlarged that and here it is. Grade importing for a forms quiz cannot be enabled unless it is the only attachment to the assignment. So if you want them to see the video beforehand, you need to make that a separate assignment, okay? So make an assignment and then make it another assignment that has just the Google form in it. And then you can turn grade importing back on, okay? So again, if you have more than one thing attached with your Google form, your quiz, such as a video to watch or another document or a file to read or a study guide, whatever it may be, you need to make sure that if you want those grades to be imported, that you leave it as only one attachment and not attached to other things. Okay. All right, so here's the next question. My student said that they have completed my Google form quiz, but it is not showing as turned in. They also said they turned in the slides assignment, but it's not showing that way in Classroom. What is up? All right, so here it is. So let's go back to that quiz assignment. Okay, so when you make that quiz assignment, and it's showing in their box, you know, showing on their side of Google Classroom, they get something that looks like a marked as done. Okay, it will say marked as done for them, and what that means is they're going to have to come back and manually mark that because it's not going to be part of like a turn-in button. Like a turn-in button works for Google Docs. Once they open that document, they have a little turn-in button at the top right-hand corner, and they can click turn in, and then it's turned in back to you, and it's all kind of automatic. Now, if they're just watching a YouTube video, or if they are doing a Google form, or maybe just reading a PDF, you know, whatever it may be, if it's not something that gives them a little bit more interactivity, such as a Google Doc, they're just going to see mark as done. Okay, so that means that they'll have to watch the video and then come back and click mark as done. Now, this is not to say that they did or did not watch the YouTube video. You have to be clear on that. This is a manual choice. It's just letting them know that they've done that assignment so that you know that they've done the assignment in your grade book. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. So Google Slides is a little different. So we love Google Slides. We think it's a great activity, a great lesson to deploy through your classroom and to give to students. It's a real easy way for them to kind of keep what they're doing for that day all lined up and sequential so that they don't miss anything. It's a great way to do that. I'm going to do a lesson on Google Slides as an online lesson planning later this week. I think actually tomorrow and probably on Thursday. So if you want to catch that, that'd be great. Come on in. But when they have that assigned, they will have a turn-in button, but it will only show on the assignment page, not on the Google slide. So here's the assignment for a Google slide. They have a turn in button, but notice when they open up the Google slide, this is opened up, it's just the top right-hand corner. There's not that turn in button that we like to see on Google Doc, okay? There's not one there. So they have to go, after they have finished their Google slide assignment, they need to go back to the original assignment, click turn in, and then it'll give them this option right here. It'll say, do you really want to turn this work in? And they click turn in right there, and there it is. Okay. All right. Let's look at our last slide for today. And I'm right at 3 minutes left. So wow, this really did take about 30 minutes. Here is another example of that. Once they have finished a Google form, at the end of the test, they'll get a new page that looks like this. And they have two choices. It says view score of how they did on the quiz, if you're releasing it to them, or open the assignment. Now, when they say open the assignment, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like it's already turned in. So that's automatic for them. So that's a good thing. So Google Form is showing them that way. And then over here where it says view score, by the way, when they click on this, it opens it up into a new tab. Okay, so they still have access to this page right here. And then they can click on view score and see how well they did. Okay. All right, so that is the end of my session today. I hope that it cleared up a few things for you. And again, please be sure, I'm gonna go all the way to the top of this. Please be sure to make a copy of this. And I will probably add more to it. So you may wanna make a copy and then revisit this link, a few days from now and see if there's any other changes that I've made to this document.